everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. So I want to tell you about the life and times of George Snuffy Stirnweiss, and I want to actually get into this particular card in a little bit, but I thought what I would do is uh, read from the newspaper accounts from the 1940s when he was coming up and his early career and then his life after baseball because I think these accounts are really interesting. The thing is with these newspaper accounts is sometimes the dates are a little off, and for instance, his birth date is actually October 26, 1918, but a lot of the newspapers they give a date of 1919, and that's not correct at all. The other thing too, I haven't really found in the newspaper accounting is how he got his nickname. So, um, what actually happened was that uh, he arrived at the Newark Bears and he had a suitcase filled with tobacco products. And one of his teammates, Hank Majeski, who later ended up on the White Sox, uh, he said to him, "What? No snuff?" So that's how he got his nickname. And so there are some, I guess, inconsistencies in the newspaper accounting during his career and afterwards, and I'll kind of like fill you in on some of that as well as I go ahead forward. So I hope you enjoy this. In George Sternweiss, you are going to see a remarkable second baseman, said Joe McCarthy, manager of the world champion New York Yankees, as he discussed the problem of filling the keystone spot left vacant by the loss of Joe Gordon. When I sent Gordon to Tony Lazzeri's place, some of the experts said Joe couldn't carry Tony's shoes. Marcy Joe continued, I assured you otherwise. I am telling you now about George Sternweiss, a great ball player. He will do a lot better at second than he did at short, and he wasn't bad in that spot either. Just overawed in his first season in the majors with Nick Etten and Sternweiss. The right side of our infield is set. It is a tough job that Steiny has taken over, though, because tradition has it that a New York second baseman ought to burn up the league in hitting, fielding, and leadership. Yankee Stadium standards have been high since Aaron Ward showed rival second sackers how it should be done. Missouri followed him and elevated the banner just a bit higher. Gordon was generally considered the top second baseman in either league, probably the best of the decade, with the possible exception of Charlie Gehringer of the Tigers. In 6 years with the Yankees, Gordon appeared in 888 league games for a batting average of .278 with 570 runs driven in and 142 homers. Sternweiss should be more at home at second, though he played shortstop as a sophomore at Carolina. He turned in his best work at second, and during the fall he did right well by himself as a tailback for the Tar Heels. Sternweiss is the only Carolina athlete ever to captain both the football and baseball teams. After finishing up at Carolina, the Flying Dutchman played for Norfolk in the Piedmont League and had a sizzling year. In 1941, he went up to New York and in the Double A International League. He hit .264 for his first season, driving in 63 runs and stealing 21 bases. His fielding average was .966. In 1942, Sterney found the loop more to his liking and cavorted around base paths to a new league record of 73 stolen sacks. His batting average was .270, and he batted in 74 runs in the circuit where only two batsmen passed the 100 RBI mark. He fielded .975. Last March, Sternweiss took over shortstop for the Yankees after Phil Rizzuto entered the service. He started his training at that spot hampered by the shadow of Frankie Crissetti, who was to be available after a 30-day suspension ended. And sure enough, Crissetti beat Sternweiss out soon after he returned. This year, however, the situation is different. No one stands in Snuffy's way. He has a year of valuable major leagues experience back of him. He has stomach ulcers, which added up to a 4F draft rating. He's back in his old position, and his boss is continuing on counting on him to come through. At 23, the George Sternweiss, who first attracted attention in North Carolina by heading out around his own right end and cutting back at 90-degree angles, now stands at the gateway of athletic fame, but not as an elusive ball carrier. The lad, as popular a football player at the university has seen in 10 years, apparently has the goods. He should go well with the Yanks. So that was the take of Stuart McGinnis of the Charlotte News in March of 1944. And one of the things I think he kind of alludes to is that Flash Gordon's entrance into the Army really kind of boosted up George Sternweiss. The thing is, Sternweiss got the 1944 and 1945 All Star Game nods. Um, and the 1945 All-Star Game was canceled because of World War II. And if you think about it, I think that was actually planned early on. The game itself was supposed to be on June 10th, 1945. However, in 1944 and 1945, Sternweiss also got MVP nods too, a fourth and a third place. And a lot of people have actually said that because of the depletion of Major League Baseball, you had players who normally probably wouldn't have gotten any awards get them, such as Hal Newhouser. Um, Obviously, I wasn't around in the 1940s, contrary to popular belief, to see these players play. But if you talk to some of my friends, they swear that I was around in the 1930s and 40s. But I guarantee you that is not the case. However, um, Sternweiss actually got the batting title in 1945, and his time was kind of like approaching an end, if you will, as an everyday player. Now, in the 1945 American League batting title, actually went to Chick Susanello, who I know of as a Boston Brave. Um, anyway, once Flash Gordon gets back to the major leagues, he and Sternweiss are both at second base. I think Sternweiss actually did a little bit of third base and shortstop as well. At this point, I'm not sure entirely where Nick Etten falls in this either. He's kind of, I think, the odd man out, if you will. And I think he's actually on basically the tail end of his career anyway. So, um, in 1947, Flash Gordon leaves for the Cleveland Indians and he wins a championship with them in 1948. And then he ends up retiring in 1950 and gets in the Hall of Fame. And he's a really interesting ball player, too. And I'm probably going to talk more about Flash Gordon at some point. However, uh, it was kind of the downhill for Sternweiss, and from what I gather, he was traded in June 15th, 1950, to the Browns in a six-player trade and $50,000, and then in April of 1951, he was traded again by the Browns to the Cleveland Indians for $35,000 in cash. And he played 50 games in 1951 and one game in 1952 before he retired. And what happened was on May 15th, 1952, the Indians optioned him to the Indianapolis minor league club. And he told Hank Greenberg, the general manager, that he refused to report, and that was because he gave the reasons, and the reasons were that he had three world championships under his belt, and age was also a factor. Now he was 32 years old in 1952, and he felt that he shouldn't have to go down to the minors. So what he did instead was he retired, and and then he went and played. I guess he was a manager in the minor leagues for a short while, and he also was I guess a employee of a bank too. And this is where things kind of again, unfortunately, go downhill from there. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the papers said at the time. When's Daddy coming home, Mommy? A grief-stricken Jane Sternweiss tried to provide the answer for her six children early today, but couldn't. Neither could anybody else, because George Snuffy Stirnweiss, ex-New York Yankees second baseman and American League batting champion in 1945, could be at the bottom of Newark Bay, imprisoned in one of the coaches of a commuter train that plunged through an open drawbridge yesterday morning at nearby Bayonne, New Jersey. Sternweiss left his home here in time to catch the ill-fated 9:16 a.m. Jersey Central train. He had a noontime luncheon appointment in New York, but as a Sternweiss neighbor explained, George always liked to be ahead of time. A station agent at the Red Bank station reportedly saw Snuffy board one of the front cars of the train. He hasn't been heard from since. Sternweiss, born October 26, 1919, the son of a New York City policeman, entered the Yankees farm system in 1940 after a brilliant baseball and football career at the University of North Carolina and joined the Yankees in 1943. He remained with the Yankees until 1950 when he was traded to the St. Louis Browns, and he was with the Cleveland Indians in 1951 and 1952. Sternweiss managed in the Eastern Baseball League in 1954 at Schenectady, and in 1955 he headed the Yankees' Birminghamton club. He suffered a mild heart attack in 1957. Sternweiss, who stood 5 feet 8 inches and weighed about 175 pounds in his prime, had a 10-year major league batting average of .268 and appeared in three World Series for the Yankees. His best year was 1945 when he led the American League with a .309 batting average and 107 runs scored, 195 hits, 22 triples, and 33 stolen bases. The previous season, he hit .319, collected 205 hits, and stole 55 bases. Except during those two wartime seasons, Sternweiss never hit .300, but he was recognized as an outstanding defensive second baseman and a good leadoff man. He played an important role for the Yankees in 1947 when they swept to the American League pennant by 12 games and beat the Dodgers in the World Series. Sternweiss was scouted at North Carolina by famed Yankee scout Paul Critchell. Possessed of sure hands and a steady day-to-day performer, Sternweiss had a string of 71 errorless games in 1948 and made only 5 errors during the entire season. In 1949, he made only 6 errors. His .993 fielding average in 1948 set an American League record for second baseman, and his lifetime fielding mark was .977. Shortstop Phil Rizzuto, who played alongside a procession of fine-fielding Yankee second basemen, always said Sternweiss was the easiest to play with. He wasn't as spectacular as Joe Gordon or Jerry Coleman, and he didn't have Billy Martin's fire, said Rizzuto, but he was the smoothest and the easiest of all to work with. He always was there when I wanted him to take a throw for the double play, and when he started the play, he particularly lay the ball right in my glove. So this is actually one of the more unusual cases of a ball player going on to the field of dreams. It's not the only one. I can think of Len Kanecki, who ended up getting killed on board an airplane in flight when somebody hit him over the head with a fire extinguisher. However, as far as trends go, there was a 19th century Detroit Wolverines or Detroit Tigers catcher by the name of Charlie Bennett who slid underneath the train and it cut off both of his legs. He didn't die from it though, but it did end his career. I think Charlie Bennett probably has a really good case for the Hall of Fame at some point. Um, as far as George Sternweiss's rookie card, um, he has probably three, but it's a little bit different. So in 1944, he's shown on a Eureka Sport stamp. And I don't know if you guys consider the sport stamps actual cards or not. Uh, the actual rookie card case, I think, could be made for the player's first representation on a photograph. But that's just me. Um, if that's the case, if you want something that's more traditional, then he's got a 1947 Tip Top Bread card. The thing with the Tip Top Bread set from that year was that the sets were actually issued in the team in which they played. So the Yankees you could only find in New York. Same with the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants. Whereas if you were in Boston, you could only grab the Red Sox and the Braves. So um, he's actually got other cards as well. And as a national issue, um, you could consider the 1948 Bowman set his rookie card. However, do not. I actually consider his 1947 Tip Top Red his rookie card, and maybe the 1944 Eureka Sports stamp. Um, it could be a stretch for certain collectors, and I understand that case. Um, the other thing too about George Sternweiss, if you're collecting him, is that his autograph is very tough. So he has a bunch of 3x5s, and maybe he's on a couple of baseballs as well. Single sign baseballs are always more difficult than your team signed baseball. And then I think the most difficult thing you're gonna find on on a card is his actual autograph, and I'll show you the one I have right here. All right. So, um, the thing with this particular autograph was that I obtained it straight from the family member who obtained it back in 1950. In fact, I think this was in November of 1950, actually 1951. And what happened was the original collector sent out all of his 1950 Bowman set to the ball players in the off season, and he wrote down when they arrived back. And so what he did was he placed them all uh, and with the notations in a shoebox, and that these cards stayed there for 66 years until the original owner passed away, and then his widow sold the cards, and that's how I was able to grab a bunch of cards from this collection. And so they're actually not bad condition. Uh, the thing is, I'm going to show you a couple of other cards from this particular collection that I grabbed a few years ago, and I'm very happy with obviously with the results, but they're also a reminder of something else that I'm going to tie in with George Sternweiss. Um, the first one is Mickey Harris, and I think he was a pitcher. So Mickey Harris actually passed away pretty young as well, and his autograph is not easy to find either. And then This is Dizzy Trout, and I believe his son also played for the major leagues. And Dizzy Trout, if you can see this, show you really quickly. If the, all right, so that was a fail. So he actually passed away in 1972, and so the next one up is Bob Smith, catcher, obviously, and I think he was the catcher for Eddie Goodell, who was the smallest player to appear in a game, um, and he passed away in 1966. And then let's see, you have Jerry Pretty as well, and he came up with Phil Rizzuto in 1951. I think they were actually bunkmates. I'm not sure, roommates. So, um, and I'll talk about him in a different video because he's got a really interesting story, especially with his what happened to him after his career. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. However, the last one I want to show you is Vern Stevens, who could easily make a Hall of Fame case. In fact, I think he's actually been up for Hall of Fame consideration at least twice. However, he passed away in 1968 at the age of 47, and that's actually what these guys have in common is that they all passed away really young. Um, and with this, uh, they all passed away before card shows and before you know, autographing was a thing. So that's really what I want to kind of get to right now is the autographs and the different generations. So George Sternweiss is a part of a generation that actually becomes the first bunch of ball players, our first group of ball players to actively autograph at shows. And if you think about it, shows were actually first started in the late 1960s, like 1968, 1969, and by the mid to late 1970s, you saw more and more ball players from like the greatest generation sign autographs. The autograph signers were usually big, your large stars at the time. Ted Williams, Mickey Mantle, uh, Joe DiMaggio, uh, Yogi Berra, and Bob Feller, especially. In fact, I think Bob Feller was one of the first baseball players to actually sign at a show. And what Feller would actually do was he'd get in his car and he'd just drive to state to state to state to go to these shows and interact with the fans. And you know, it's one thing I really like about Bob Feller. I got to know him for a long time, and we'd talk about a lot of stuff that didn't have to do with sports again, but he was always accessible to his fans, and really kind of the same with Mickey Mantle and Ralph Kiner and all those guys. It was your superstars who were doing the majority of autograph signings, not your Dizzy Trouts or your Vern Stevens, obviously, or the guys I just mentioned. Leo Deroser is a one of those guys who really was good autograph signer throughout his career, even if he wasn't in the Hall of Fame at the time. He got in the Hall of Fame after his passing. I believe in 1992 he passed away, or 1991, and then I think he got in the Hall of Fame in about 1994. Again, don't quote me on the exact date. It's been a long day. Anyway, um, but Leo Droscher has a ton of autographs out there, unlike the rest of the guys I showed you. The thing is, this is kind of a problem too because um, it's your lesser known guys where you can get into trouble with the autographs and PSA really got into some serious trouble a couple of years ago with dead ball era T206 autographs that ended up being fake, and they basically said that they were certified as genuine when they were not, and um, this is really where you need to do your research on the ball player and what he could sign. And it ended up being that the forgers were taking 3x5s of these ball players because the dead ball era players were signing 3x5s. They just weren't signing cards. And um, in my experience, uh, collecting vintage autographs is that your ball players were not signing during their careers, but afterwards on um, cards, and cards are always really the rarest of the autograph material, uh, aside from a single signed baseball. And so what was going on with PSA was that they were not doing their due diligence and who could sign a card and when and on what what pen or whatever it was, and then so uh they I think it wasn't just PSA either. I think it was SGC that really kind of had to shut down their autograph program because as from what I've heard that they have a library of all autographs to go on, and then they weren't really kind of like doing their due diligence, as I said, and same with James Spence as well. But that's really where the education comes in. Before you buy an autograph, really kind of make sure that you're buying from a reputable dealer first, and then see what could be signed and when. And I really wanted to bring this up to your attention, the life and times of George Sternweiss, because there are a lot more players than superstars on the field at any given time. And Sternweiss was a good ball player. Uh, he may be overshadowed today or hardly spoken about, but um, these guys they may be gone, but they're not forgotten, at least not by me anyway, and not by SABR or the vintage collectors who actively go after these ball players. And um, for me, it's really when I'm collecting uh, cards like this, it's not just about um, really kind of who's on the card itself. For me, it's there's a lot going on there. It's the artwork, it's the history, it's what's going on in America when these cards were issued. I mean, there's a lot going on, and again too, um, it's also a chance for me to research the ball player as well and see what was going on during his career. And that's really what I kind of have for you guys today. If you could do me a favor, you give a like and subscribe, and then I really want to know what you guys are thinking on this entire issue. Um, especially with either George Sternweiss or the Yankees, and I know I grew up as a Red Sox fan, but I do like all ball players. Um, except for that Mickey Rivers fellow. Me and Spaceman Lee, we don't like that dude. I'm just joking, Mickey. Don't punch me. Anyway, until next time, guys. I really appreciate you stopping by. Give a like and subscribe, and let me know, in the comments below what you think. And until the next time, see you later. Bye.